HGV driver shortage put a halt to Nando's takeaways and McDonald's milkshakes up and down the country, and now it's even threatening to ruin Christmas.
But as the UK braces itself for continued disruptions, only around 1% of registered truck drivers are female. And in just a moment, we'll be talking to trucker Jodi Smith, who's enticing more women to get behind the wheel and save supply chains everywhere.
First, though, with reports that Christmas goods and deliveries could now be under threat, Alice Beer joins us to explain what the driver shortages could mean for all of us. Morning, Alice.
Morning, Alice.
So can you explain, and this has been something that has been on the boil for a few weeks now, and you look at the papers and think, are you exaggerating? Is this a bit of hysteria? Is it something else for us to worry about? But in actual fact, it has had an impact on the high street. Why are there shortages?
OK, so first of all, there absolutely are shortages. It has had an impact, you're right. It's been this perfect storm of circumstances that has led to the reality that I have just popped into this stretch of high street, one supermarket down there, another one behind me, and there are gaps on the shelves. Not massive gaps, but certainly gaps. Part of that they might be restocking, but there are certainly gaps. And it's been this perfect storm of events that's been brewing over the summer and during the pandemic. We've got labour shortages, massive labour shortages. We've got changes of immigration rules. And, of course, we've got the lingering effects of the pandemic. And as you've already said, the most crucial part of that has been this shortfall of HGV drivers. And if you ever wanted to know how significant HGV drivers are in our supply chain, you know, from getting food from farm or factory to our stores, to our table, then just look at the shortages that we've got now. I mean, they're not just in the supermarket. This is everything from medical equipment to McDonald's milkshakes. Fast food especially has been affected. There's a shortage of aluminium cans. So Coca-Cola has announced that there's a shortage of cans of Coke. I mean, it's just bizarre. Nando's and other major fast food restaurants have announced that there's a shortage, and they've had to close many stores. And part of that is because of the labour-intensive nature of their business. Because if you haven't got the people on the poultry farms, if you haven't got that labour, you simply haven't got the poultry in the Nando's. It's just one big circle of unfortunate circumstances.
When it comes to the HGV drivers themselves, there's going to be sort of this gap because training takes a while and training is expensive. So even if there's a sort of recruitment drive now, to get things back to normal is going to take time.
Yes, I mean, if you're applying for a normal driving licence, you know the delays that are happening there. It's months waiting for your licence to come through, or even your testing. The HGV test, it actually doesn't take very long. The training takes 5 days. The testing takes, the whole process takes some 8 weeks. But actually getting your licence through takes a lot longer. So, of course, this is not going to get better over a very short period of time. The industry bodies are lobbying the government to allow temporary visas for European workers to come back and work as HGV drivers. Obviously, we know that big chains like John Lewis are offering incentives and wage rises to get drivers on the road in the cab. But it's not going to suddenly be over next week, and it will impact Christmas, as you said, you know, quite specifically. Do you want to know some of the specifics?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah, wine. Oh, God. Hello? Wine. Accolade, one of the biggest wine producers, 5th biggest in the world, have said that there are shortages, for sure. Pigs in blankets. I mean, these all come down to the meat processing plants and the nature of meat processing. And gammon. There are going to be shortages of all those things. Please, let's not trigger a massive shopping of chipolatas and pieces of bacon. But there will be shortages of some foods, and we're going to have to adapt until the industry gets back on its feet.
Alice, is this part of because you do hear? I mean, if you've anyone who's doing up a house, anyone who's doing any renovations, and there are a lot of people who've decided that that's what they're going to do now with their homes. Anything that's delayed, then you're immediately told by the company, "Oh, it's Brexit. Oh, it's Brexit." I mean, I'm waiting for some shutters to be put up in my house, and I've been waiting forever, and it's down to Brexit. Is that actually true, or are they just, they're just not organised enough?
No. Well, it is true because, I mean, first of all, we did have... People are still waiting for goods from that massive ship that was stuck in the canal. But there are goods that are being held up by import rules. Of course, we've got new immigration rules. There's a massive workforce shortage. So Brexit has affected a lot of things. There are taxation changes. So you can imagine the paperwork changes. I think your shutters are just indicative of what is going on a huge scale. It is quite genuine. It does annoy me when I ring a number and they say, I'm sorry, because of the pandemic, we can't answer the phone, because for me that says, that's not pandemic. You know, anyone can answer a phone. You can get your call centre set up. But there are labour shortages. You think of the number of foreign nationals who've had to self-isolate, stay at home, perhaps found a different career, perhaps found a better work-life balance than being an HGV driver, and people who've gone home to their countries to see relatives who aren't coming back again. This is a massive labour shortage that this country is suffering.
Thank you. Let's talk.
There's adverts everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk to Jodi Smith now, who is a female trucker, and she's by the side of her truck right now. And morning to you,
Hi,
Jodi.
Jodi.
Thank you for joining us today. So Jodi, what made you decide that you wanted to take your trucker's licence?
I actually took my licence about when I was 19, and it was only to drive a horse box, because I have horses, and I tried to get into it when I was under 21, and nowhere would really employ me because of the insurances. So I gave up until about 5 years ago, and then I found a job pretty easily, to be honest.
And so just explain sort of a day in the life, really. What's it like? What's the vehicle like? Is that your cab behind you?
Yeah, this is my one, the pink one. I love it. I love driving around London. I do central London every day. It's just, you're on your own, doing your work and just get it done.
But it's not lonely? You don't get lonely in there?
Sorry?
You don't get lonely? It's not a lonely existence?
No. See, I deliver machinery, like plant, onto building sites. So I do like 5-6 jobs a day. So I'm constantly getting in and out of the lorry, seeing different people. I like it.
There's all sorts of stories in the press saying, you know, sort of HGV drivers, some earning a fortune, some not. I was reading some of the stuff that you said earlier on this morning, and I mean, as you say, you're delivering heavy plant, you know, sort of cherry pickers and that sort of stuff to building sites. What about supermarkets? Because it would appear that partially the villains of the piece here could be supermarkets.
That's where I think the problem is. It's just not that appealing. A lot of it's unsociable hours, weekends, nights, and also staying in like lorry parks like this. This isn't actually a bad one. This one's all right, but there's only 3 showers here for all of these men. 3 showers. So staying in places like this, sometimes their bosses won't pay for them to stay in services. They've got to stay in lay-bys. It's just not appealing. But I personally prefer what I do, but there's different types of trucking, so this is what I've chosen and this is what I like.
And to get your licence, it's not cheap, is it?
No. As I said, I did mine when I was 19, but I've recently passed my Class 1, so I've recently done that, but I'm still in, this is a Class 2, I'm still in this at the minute, so I'm just getting experience, and then when we find a girl to drive this one, I can get a Class 1. The pink one.
So the training can take between 3,000 and 5,000.
Yeah.
And how long does it actually take to train you up? First to Class 2, then to Class 1?
So, yeah, the Class 2, you've got to do a hazard perception, a theory, CPC, and then the actual driving training doesn't take that long because it's normally like a week crash course. You've got to have a medical. Getting the first section of it is quite difficult, but as I said, I did my Class 1 and that literally took me a week. And the actual waiting times for that wasn't that long. I think I waited 2 months to get my test date.
And so, as we said at the beginning of this, 1% of the workforce in your industry is female, so it's male dominant there. And what do your male sort of colleagues think of you? How do they treat you?
I've never had a problem. Even being here in the car park here, people come up to you, they always offer help. I don't find it a problem. Like, most men do try to help. Then, there is obviously a stigma with it, but I think if more women saw what it was like, they wouldn't have that perception of it.
Yeah.
You, we believe that it can be up to £11 an hour if you're working on a supermarket run. And as you say, there are the chances are that they may not pay for you overnight. You've got to sleep in the cab. You've got to find the loos and all that sort of stuff. So it's hard for me to say, you know, would you recommend it? It sounds like you wouldn't recommend being a trucker for the supermarkets, but as an HGV driver with you doing something else, then you would recommend it as a career.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got to improve the standard for where these lorry drivers have to stay. It's just not appealing, and the long unsocial. Some people are expected to work 15-hour days, and they're only being paid a day rate. So it's a lot for them to go through to not get a lot back.
Yeah, and we know how important you are now, and that's the supply chain starts getting affected. It impacts all of us. So, thank you. It's great to talk to you, Jodi.
Yeah, it's a knock-on effect.
Yeah. Thanks, Jodi.
Thank you.
Safe driving. Thank you very much indeed. Well, that's a message to the supermarkets, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the reason your shelves are empty.
Yeah.
You need more truckers.
Look after them.
Pay them better.